This is the first time we'll see Nongshim actually pick blue side, something that you and I were talking about in the break, is something we think they should definitely do.
Yeah.
It does force the Seraphine ban.
Which they were doing anyway. It seems like Hanwha Life just do not want to see this champion at all.
There's Silas, okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of not wanting to see champions at all, but this means they might leave open the Renekton.
Yeah. And I always harken back to one of Chovy's interviews. It was after his Yone game where they're like, aren't you worried they're just going to ban Yone every game now? And he's like, yeah, sure, you can ban Yone, Lucian, anything. I have so many champions that I can play that you can never ban me out. And it's pretty true. I mean, they're going to ban away 2 here, but who knows what he's going to play and carry on next.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing about it, too, is like we always think about Chovy on these kind of crazy, insane, fun-to-watch champions, but if he just plays Orianna, it's going to be okay, too. Like, you know, you
the Victor, right?
You just draw, if you draw so many bans onto Chovy, then the rest of the champions in the game, like the rest of, you know, Riot's cast just starts to leak through, and I think you absolutely have to ban the Senna against Deft, because it's not a champion that Duckdom plays very often, and I don't think you want to first pick it if you're Nongshim. You just can't give that one away. And they're actually going to take the Renekton themselves, it looks like here, to deny that one from Morgan. But I am not confident that they're going to be able to pull this off.
Even Rich doesn't look confident.
Yeah, and I think Hanwha Life might just pick away the Nidalee here. Yohan likes to play Nidalee quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Rel. Oh,
they take the Hecarim instead.
Okay. There you go.
And, okay, it's Renekton mid, it looks like. No. I thought they were actually going to do that. I was like, well, that seems a bit, you're showing your hand a little bit early. I think you would definitely want the Nidalee here if you're Peanut. The Lilia is very strong and does work very well with Renekton. It doesn't work very well for the same reasons, but it is still very powerful as a combo on the top side. Get a lot more consistent damage, but given Peanut's history on the Nidalee, I would much prefer to see this with the Renekton combo we already have. And I wonder if this will just be a Duckdom pick here early. I mean, the Jinx is still open. There's a lot of things you compare with that. I don't think they're going to take the Tristana based on what we've seen so far in this series.
I wonder, you know, if you go Jinx and you already have Thresh and Alistar banned away from you, you might find yourself in a really awkward spot. So they're going to take the Ezreal instead. It's a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he was really carrying pretty hard in game number 1. They didn't win, but he was still doing his job, and we can say that with the utmost confidence.
And, you know, Kai'Sa, not as high impact, unfortunately for Deft, in that last game. Had a really rough laning phase, but still a very strong champion. And if the comp works correctly and you're not massively behind when we get to those skirmishes around the Drakes, like, I still think it's a very strong pick. See the Leona ban? That's where I thought we were going here in this game, whether it was going to be the Jinx or the Ezreal. So, like that option. Really thinning out what Kellen's capable of. As you mentioned, he's only played 6 champions this season. So, you know, he doesn't have a wide pool. You put him on, like, Seraphine's already banned away, his Alistar, his Rel, it only leaves him with, Leona too, like, it only leaves him with Rakan.
Yeah.
It's the only champion left.
Maybe they just ban it here, you know? I don't know if they would even bother, but
I think you're happy to let him play Rakan. He has had a pretty bad track record with it. Seems pretty weak right now, but they just don't even let him do it. 5 support bans. I mean, the Seraphine is probably more likely to have been played mid, but that's the 6th that he played.
Yeah. Look at his face. He knows it too. He's like, what am I going to play?
Rel is taken, and all 5 other champions is played or banned. This is good coaching research by Hanwha Life Esports, just to have that knowledge of his champion pool right on a clipboard and say, you know what? You're not going to get it. This is going to force him out of his comfort zone, which is, you know, pretty small. And Kellen has been a pretty nice support, especially on the Thresh. But his support pool is so small that we're going to have to see him play something for the first time in a playoffs.
Yeah.
That's just what happens with these drafts.
And Braum would just be kind of, I don't know. We don't see Braum. Yeah, we don't see Braum very often. Certainly has some really nice disengage, obviously. Pretty safe in lane. And can kind of get Duckdom to where he needs to be. And I think that's pretty much been the role of Kellen in a lot of these drafts, to get Duckdom fed.
Yeah, you know, I mean, see the Aatrox come through here, so it is going to be the mid Renekton. I was right all along. Okay. This is also very counter-pickable for Hanwha Esports. I mean, they already have the Gragas, by the way, which is very strong into the Renekton, but the Aatrox comes through, that goes mid. The Victor here is definitely a very Chovy thing to do. Say, well, I'm just...
It's not locked. He's got a smile. It's Victor. Okay.
It's Victor. I mean, it's...
you know.
low mobility champion in the mid lane. Very, you know, difficult to play that when Nidalee is playing aggressively around mid. I don't think he's going to go Darksteel first this time. But we'll see what he decides to build. I like Nongshim's draft a lot, minus the Braum. And I think this is Nongshim getting a little bit exposed here. Because even if, like, let's just say, even if Nongshim does come back and win the series 3-2 in a 5th game, you've really exposed one big weakness of your drafting, is that Kellen, and we saw the amount of time it took him to lock that in. And, I mean, he wasn't happy about it. You and I weren't really that happy about it. And it very clearly screamed, okay, well, this guy's champion pool is just as small as I said. He has about 6 he can do. And I'm worried to see, because this is, again, the lane has been where they've had, the bottom lane is where they've had all of their success. Dom has gotten fed. He's gotten ahead early in each and every game they've played. And this Braum pick doesn't scream to me like that they could actually make that happen with the Ezreal this time. So it feels like the entire MO of Nongshim in the series all falls apart when those support champions get banned. And that's what I'm worried about here in this, what could be our potentially final game.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think, you know, they'll just try to go even down there, and we'll see how Nidalee Renekton works this time in the hands of Nongshim. Bay hopping onto the Renekton. This is definitely going to try to turn kind of the roles that are, you know, that have been kind of carried out throughout this entire best of 5. It's been Chovy and Johan that have been the aggressive pair. This time around, it has to be Bay and Peanut. We'll see if that works out for them, as we are hopping on the Rift here for game number 4 of this first best of 5 here in the LCK playoffs.
And I think it goes without saying, and our observers are highlighting it immediately, that it's first game career for Bay on the Renekton. So we will see if that's something he ends up playing well here, because, you know, I talked about it earlier when I was talking about his Syndra. He's normally a player who doesn't make those aggressive plays, and kind of passive mid laners like Bay are usually not the types to play stuff like the Renekton, right? And it feels like this draft was very much a flex because of the counterpick with the Gragas. And I'm not sold on the idea of Bay being the one who's going to actually have a very successful game of Renekton here. We'll see how he plays it. Because the Syndra, you know, I said, well, he's not the type to make the big plays, and then he did make quite a few of those. I want to count chicken
about another late invade here. This is going to be spotted, but this time you'll note there are 4 of them that are pushing in. This isn't the 3 that Hanwha did in game number 1. Guys?
What did I just watch?
Okay.
Look at Rich's face, like...
We're just 5v5ing here in the enemy jungle.
Who?
As Nongshim.
Who hit the blast cone? I actually didn't see, but...
Big time engage, right? No,
that just happened
no
on
excuse.
Live on internet television. We all saw that.
Yes. So at the end of the day, the Hecarim kind of just goes over and solos his Raptors. He's totally fine to do that. He doesn't get a leash, but it's whatever. The Nidalee gets the blue buff, so sets up vertical jungling, which I suppose is the entire point of doing this. So at least Nongshim get what they want.
As it turns out, they didn't feed 2 kills, so that's a good start. They did, unfortunately, force Kellen's flash themselves, but, you know, we'll let that go for now.
Can we get a replay of that?
Yeah, I really would like to have one. Because I'm still not 100% sure who hit the cone, but, like, there might be something personal going on. Oh, boy. Well, a little bit mistimed. No, if you're new to the LCK, you're watching because you heard about playoffs, welcome. But Rich's most famed champion is the Aatrox. And anyone who is an LCK fan knows that, for sure. So this is a specific champion that he is basically made the majority of his LoL career on after swapping from Heroes of the Storm. So if he does not perform on this champion, you know, I mean, it ends up being really weird, the drafting priority. But you expect big things in Bay. You have no vision, my dude.
Yeah, he's coming here. He's trying to help secure the Scuttle Crab for his jungler. And actually, Johan this time is the one that oversteps.
Peanuts Penguin. What up?
Oh, boy. Well, the fiesta never ends here, Wolf. Even Duck Tom's laughing. Look at him. Yep, definitely a nice win there for Nongshim in the beginning of this game.
I mean, that's not supposed to happen. I really felt like it's kind of a very greedy play from Bay, but he ended up turning it around really well. Peanut did, of course, but it's really proactive. They're going to double scuttle off of this, of course, and that's going to give a lot of early gold over to Peanut, as well as some extra control of vision. And he's not done yet. Okay, this is what Peanut does when he gets ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, he didn't go for the spear steal.
Yeah.
I thought he could have gotten that.
Maybe. Or at least some damage onto Johan. He's going to spot out this ward and just clear it out. Be annoying, be aggressive. That's what you want to do. He's even getting in there again. You'll note he's not going to Krugs and playing passively and farming. No, he's actually looking to be, again, the proactive pair. As I was talking about, as the flash will come in and Chovy is going to survive.
Wow.
And double buff goes to him as well.
That was a huge mistake by Peanut. If you're like, you have to trust your Renekton. Like, he did not trust him. And then you came in late. Like, you actually have to have that trust. Like, if you're going to play this composition, you really have to be on the same page. You cannot have a delayed engage like that. And after he didn't go, he definitely should not have gone in when he did. Unfortunately. I mean, Chovy's positioning was really good. You know, that was well played by him. Like, he was playing very safe. But the flash, when the flash stun comes in, you go or you don't. You don't go a few seconds later.
Yeah, we'll probably get a replay of that and kind of break down how it all happened. But definitely an unfortunate start here for Nongshim. They were the ones that have to set up the play. We're actually going all the way back to Heroes. Johan kind of overextended.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't know where Peanut was, and I think at a certain point he thought he was safe there, but he could just get the stun, and then you're stuck. You went too deep. Yeah, there being an early lead. But watch this again. So Bay actually flashes for the stun. It's like a really nice flash. The spear comes through, and like he's just a little bit late on that. I mean, I guess they also didn't have. They needed one more auto, regardless.
Yeah, he just got flashed on. Didn't have the damage. Thought he did. As this time around, he's going to be able to clean up the kill up on the top side. So at least spares the blushes of the other play, although Bay is just going to die in a solo kill.
Still has the double buff. Yeah. Chovy again just trying to win the game by himself. And Victor is a champion, is one of the worst champions you could give over 2 kills too early. Like, the power level of Victor is much later on in the game when he ends up with 2-3 items, and if he ends up getting accelerated to that in the mid game, he just becomes a fountain laser. And like, Nongshim do have a lot of ways to get on top of him, and he's not going to be able to just, you know, some of these games of Victor, someone uses their initiation, and then the Victor just stands in the middle of the team fight and does damage. You won't be able to do that against Nongshim's comp because of Aatrox and a Renekton, but still, I mean, he's going to have probably a very early stopwatch here too for these upcoming skirmishes.
Okay, so you don't have priority in mid, but you're potentially flipping over a Rift Scuttler. They are going to get it, using that mobility of the Nidalee to get over the wall to be able to escape. But man, you're playing with fire when you're doing stuff like that. After Bay just got solo killed and Chovy is 2-0.
Well, this is how this happened. Morgan just didn't have vision, tried to back there, and the Rich commits in, ults. There's no way out of here, unfortunately.
1 second on flash when he died.
Yeah.
1 second.
That's really unfortunate.
But, oh man.
Okay.
I guess he thought he was going to hit level 6 on that. That is the only way you can excuse that play.
But even if you do, like, I mean, you're going to have to ult, and then I mean, you probably don't die there, but yeah, like, what are you doing if your whole goal is to like get level 6 to not die? Like, probably could have just played that a little bit safer. I mean, Chovy's like, managing these wave states really, really well. I mean, that's been something he's done in both games.
Yeah.
So the reason that Renekton had to go that far forward to farm is because the wave is so far pushed, and Chovy's got it frozen right under his turret, so it's very easy for him to actually punish plays like this.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to learn how to do wave manipulation and you want to watch someone, just watch Chovy. I mean, he's the best mid laner in terms of laning phase, I would say, by a pretty obvious margin.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say significant, but it's like, okay, this guy is the guy.
I think most people would agree right now, or at least we have to agree that the conversation needs to be had of whether he's the best player in the world individually, just because he showcases the whole package, right, in terms of his laning mechanics, his team fight mechanics. This is rough for Vista.
He's actually going to get the slow on a depth here. There's the concussive blows and actually gets really, really low. Has to flash and cleanse to get out of that one. And some of the early training and the push coming in here gave level 6 to Duck Dom and Kellen first. Deft and Vista did not respect that, and they will get punished for it.
Yeah, I really actually kind of like how the damage was front-loaded like that too, because they knew that they were going to get summoner spells from both players probably if they did it that way. They didn't get the summer cells from Vista, but they got the kill, so I'll take it. And you know, you finally start to get a little bit of value. And in the bottom lane, not getting the kill, by the way, but I would have forced it out. I'm liking the situation here for Nongshim the more I look at it, but I don't trust this composition yet, Valdez, with the Renekton here.
This still level 5. Love to pick up level 6 before they force a fight here. But it's got to hit the mid lane to do exactly that. See if he can pick it up before the fight begins. This is a very important timing here when the Infernal Drake is available and the Rift Herald is as well. As Kellen looking for a play potentially here, is in the front line, gets the knockup onto Vista, and he has to hop the wall, nearly dies. But he's able to, oh! He outranged it! Oh,
wow! Man. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Sometimes I forget that it has range, actually, because it usually just either hits something or just goes wide. You never see where it ends. Oh, yeah, that was, I thought that was going to be like one of the silliest things we ever saw, but actually it was really epic at the end. This Rift Herald is still being contested here by Nongshim, but, but I don't think they can hard commit. Like,
Peanut's not even here, so...
There's a lot of time wasted, actually, kind of happy feeding around this here for Nongshim. If they don't actually collapse and look for a fight, like, what was the game plan from the beginning? Yeah. Like, they stayed to kill a ward, sick.
Look at the wave in the bottom lane right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Duck Dom's missing all of it.
I mean, if you just go away early there, you know, Hanwha Life Esports, you know, they have to keep the majority of those people there to secure the Rift Herald. You can leave somebody to harass, but you can't have everybody sit there and watch. Peanut is once again trying to take this Gromp rotation, or Krug's rotation.
He's really loved the top lane in his Nidalee play this season. And you can see he's really putting pressure onto Morgan on the weak side, making it not just a free lane for the Gragas to trudge his way through.
Yep, just gonna take it back right now. And this has been a, you know, for Bay in the mid lane, he had that one mistake, but he's stayed stable. But I want to see how the team fights go. And it feels like we've been saying that a lot today for all 3 games, because you could see the idea. In this case for Nongshim, it's usually more Hanwha that we're saying it about, but you can see the idea with the composition. You have a lot of ability to get on the back line. It makes Victor's life very difficult. You know, Chovy is going to have a hard time actually doing consistent damage. Positioning is going to have to be good, which we know that he's very good at doing. He is very good at positioning himself, but limits the power of the Victor. But I want to see how it's done execution-wise from Bay. Again, first career game on the Renekton, so let's see if he can actually utilize this, get on that back line, or if Hanwha Life Esports can just out-position him, out-poke him.
And remember, this Infernal Drake was never taken, so Peanut just kind of running at it. You can't just, you know, grab objectives without being challenged if you don't have the priority in the lanes. As TP is going to be coming in here. Follow-up TP from Rich. Seems like we're going to get Down and dirty for this team fight. You see Def just waiting. He's pretty low, actually, so this might just be Hanwha Life looking to back away. They want to zone away the jungle, and they will do that. Vista gets caught by Rich here. Really nice ultimate from the Braum as well. That's 2 kills now for Nongshim. Def has to flash away once again. And Hanwha Life not really finding anything in this team fight. Even Chovy's gonna get caught out. He had to flash, and he's still going to die. That's 4 kills in favor of Nongshim on top of the Infernal Drake.
Fantastic fight for Nongshim here, and you know, I beg the question, like, how is it going to work in functionality? How's it going to work in actuality? Well, in the early parts of the game, there's just so much damage. I mean, Aatrox is very strong early on in the game. I mean, and so the same is true of Renekton, but I mean, we had a really nice Braum ult, you pointed it out. And early on, if you're Hanwha Life in some of these fights, you have to be a little bit more decisive, or you just have to decide to let the Drake go. And in this case, they decided to still try to slowly push in. They ended up getting caught. I really appreciate the teleport coming through here from Rich and actually hard committing to this fight, fighting when your comp is at its strongest. Now look at where Depth is too in this fight. Because of that Rich teleport, it took him a really long time to actually come in. And
oh no!
What up?
Yeah, Chovy, you know, they've identified the carry of the enemy team, and now they're not going to let up.
I mean, this is starting to actually become too much of a lead. Peanut 3-1-2 in this game.
Yep.
6 Dark Seal stacks as well with that. Just comes with the territory, and we're going to watch this fight one more time. You can see Deft is just unfortunately not really able to get in and do damage. And then by the time he does come in, like, he's caught, he's exhausted, like, just not able to do anything. And then Braum hits his ult, and Deft is just pushed out. Like, Deft, this was essentially a 4v5 fight against a Renekton Aatrox comp. Yeah, as you mentioned, even Chovy is caught.
Yeah. They killed the unkillable. And we're going to see how this one happens. So Chovy was sticking around for the plates, got greedy, and gets caught out here.
And that was, like, if you're stuck out on the outside like that as Deft, you know, I mean, if you try to come in faster, you're just putting yourself at insane risk of getting picked by the Renekton, or the Aatrox, excuse me, in this case, that was over there. And if you don't come in, or you get zoned out like that, the rest of the team probably you should probably communicate that. I mean, it was probably in the midst of the fight they were talking about it, but the real win would have just been to not fight at all.
Yeah, it's rough though. You know, you give an Infernal Drake to this comp, and it's 4 guys that are going to be able to utilize it to such a high degree. But I absolutely agree. If you're not going to have a clean engage or a clean fight at all, don't fight, right? Yeah. As Johan is looking for this, trying to get on top of Kellen, but stopwatch, really good item, guys. Yep. Buy it.
Pops his ultimate.
Yeah, look at the amount of poke damage they have as well with the Nidalee and the Ezreal on top of everything else in this composition. Now we have a one-on-one here. Bay didn't even pop Dominus. Actually, he's totally fine in this trade as the Chaos Storm was used, and now here's Aatrox. Oh, Toby, you still don't have your flash? Well, how about you die again? Well, they are going to trade their life for it, as Bay is going to just walk away, but Rich did go down at the end of the day.
I mean, they are shutting down Chovy pretty significantly, though, in this game. And that's half of the significant damage that Hanwha Life Esports is going to have in this game. You know, I mean, it is pretty huge to limit what he can do. And that is one of the powers of picking this Renekton, too, because, you know, the main reason I think they did it was because, you know, they ended up looking at the comp, and I'm going to watch this replay once again. As you come forward, you set up the stun, super easy. I think the main reason they chose to do this swap was because Rich didn't want to play into the Gragas with the Renekton, right? Like, that's a really tough matchup. Like, you just don't get the same amount of value as the Renekton as you would in a lot of other matchups. So they swapped it, but also its second functionality here with how it's been utilized is it just limits the amount of effectiveness Chovy can have. You know, he has built an Oblivion Orb in this game, like he didn't get the Dark Seal, it's just too risky, right, to do that. And so Chovy isn't going to be the 1v9 player this game. I mean, maybe later on he will be, but you know, it's crazy because even still he did get 2 early kills, and like, yeah. It's like, well, is he really limited in this game? In some ways, yes, he could have been snowballing this even harder because they're giving so many resources to hunting him down.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0 to 2-3.
Yeah,
certainly they've done their job. And you know, we talked about Rich in the beginning, a guy that has so much experience on big stages. You mentioned more BlizzCons than more High before. we haven't really talked about him at all. He hasn't been like the main guy, but he comes in here on his Aatrox and he's like, yeah, remember me? Remember how you probably should be banning Aatrox against me? He's beginning to carry. I mean, he's 50 CS ahead on the top side. He was able to zone away 2 people on that very crucial team fight around the Infernal Drake. He's able to dive on a Chovy and help out in other lanes. He's been all over the map and is doing so much for his team.
Yeah, and this is going to be another free Drake. Hanwha Life Esports can't contest this at this stage. And Hanwha Life just having a really hard time figuring out what their game plan is going to be in this game to figure out, like, the team fights themselves haven't really happened on their terms. And, you know, the funny thing about the, the draft, my biggest question mark was actually the Braum, but Kellen's played a very good Braum this game. That was my biggest concern looking at the draft. And he's actually pulling it off. He's actually been very impactful in the majority of these team fights. And what looked like it was a really rough start, potentially for Duckdom in this game with the Braum pick. I was really not sold on it. He's starting to get fed. He's starting to get ahead. And he's actually looking for a red steal. That would have been pretty cool, but not going to happen.
At this point in the game, there's no objective, so you might as well just use it.
Yeah.
Doesn't really clear waves like it used to. You know, back in the day, you could just throw it to a lane where there was a massive wave pushing and clear all of the ranged minions in one go.
Yep.
It was so crazy and quite strong, quite OP.
Yeah, it was pretty good back then.
It needed a nerf.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, True Shot Barrage was not designed to be used as a wave clear tool in Insane Gold Machine.
Ooh, actually going to force the flash out of Chovy here. And they did their job.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they had to do.
He gets his ult, and, I mean, this is setting up a really nice, potentially, fight on the top side of the map. They want to actually fight for it. Like, they were grouping up. I thought maybe they were going to try to get a pick there and then push for the top lane, but they just back away. So it is nice to get the flash. That's going to be on a really long cooldown. But they don't have anything they can take right at the moment. I do appreciate how Nongshim are utilizing this time, though. Stop it back.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing very aggressively. And their macro game has been good. They did not just sit back and say, well, I mean, we got that flash of the Chovy, but I guess we'll just wait for the objective. They're pushing through the top side like I was talking about now. Like, they actually are making that play.
It's
and
a
if
good
you
sign.
get a few kills, you get a turret here. I mean, this is what you need to do. And yes, it's a good sign, and it's a big improvement, really, from what we've seen from them throughout the majority of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've identified their composition that, again, it's like Duckdom is your only really effective late game damage, and up against Chovy Deft on Victor Kaisa, especially Chovy's Victor, as we saw in game number 2, you got to be careful about getting to that extreme late game. Not 100% certain that you can win there, so they're trying to push the issue.
Yeah.
And they do have a massive gold lead here. I mean, it's 7,000 gold
7,000
at 21 minutes into the game.
And to make it clear, you know, to everybody watching, like this was of all the playoff matches, and including everyone's predictions, like down the line. You know, if we expect Hanwha Life to be picked by a down 1 Kia, assuming they win this, right? Like, this is the easiest match to predict, I think, by everybody. Everyone thought this is going to be the most one-sided match we have in playoffs. And at the end of the day, I mean, Nongshim is really taking it to Hanwha Life Esports. Don't forget that in game 1, they were very close to winning it there, too. And actually, you know, in the previous game as well, in game 3. But, you know, this is a team that is doing well when it matters most. I mean, something Chronicle likes to talk about all the time is, like, it doesn't matter how you play all season if you have your best performance where it matters most in playoffs. Maybe you could steal a season away, you know, maybe you could take out Hanwha Life Esports here if you're Nongshim, you know. On the other side of the coin, DRX has recently been slumping pretty hard, right? So this is where it matters most, and it feels like Nongshim are playing their best games of League of Legends we've seen all season right now. And they've changed how they play. They play a lot more around the bottom side of the map. They're trying to get Duckdom in power. They're drafting around him. And it's working. In this particular game, it's hard to imagine a world where they fall behind because they have that Drake lead. If they didn't have that, I'd be a little bit more concerned about their scaling. But I think they have enough of a lead now where it's kind of hard to mess this up.
It definitely is. And you can see the XP difference now as well for Rich. I mean, he is pretty massively ahead. He's got that Gromp down on the bottom side like 3 times in a row. And that's not insignificant. You're getting even the buffed Gromp XP. You're getting farther and farther ahead, as that was actually a max range Q.
Yep.
Hit Vista straight in the face right before this Mountain Drake fight. Mountain Soul, that's...
Oh, it's Trophy too.
Man.
You're getting the screen shake, you know, or the health bar shake, rather. That's where we're at for the damage. Oh, man. I think Hanwha Life just can't even contest this anymore. And they're going to try to stop some backs here.
Yeah.
True shot.
Kellen's been really good about that all game long, and
if he actually hits that true shot and Peanut spears over the wall, he actually dies.
Oh yeah, sure. Rich is just going to solo it down.
The macro game from Nongshim has been very good this series. They are maximizing value all over the map. Renekton pushing top, solo Baron, or rather solo Drake, and the pushing mid, threatening Chovy, stopping his backs. But I was very impressed with macro play from Nongshim in the Kespa Cup. And at that point, it was a new season, all the items are new and stuff like that. Like, having macro as one of your strengths is going to put you ahead of a lot of teams in the Kespa Cup. And it seems like Nongshim actually cared about the Kespa Cup more than a lot of the other teams, as it turns out, too. But
yeah,
during the first round in particular, I felt like, well, where's the macro at for Nongshim? I thought like they really fell off in that regard. But today, they are playing very well. He's 3 levels up. Like Morgan, he actually gets caught by the chains. But nothing exciting can happen.
It's pretty insane that he's already level 16. I mean, every other solo laner is 14 or lower. In the case of Morgan, who just picked up yet another wave and is still not 14. This is another Gromp.
Look, he's almost got enough. He actually passed Chovy in CS.
He did the unthinkable.
He's done it.
The impossible.
He's outpacing Chovy. I mean, they're actually posturing Baron Vision right now. This would be a very early attempt if they do start it, and I don't think they will, but it does force a big reaction here out of Hanwha Life Esports. You know, you see the ping come down as well, like the instant question mark ping from Morgan on the side lane. He's like, I mean, they could be doing this. I don't know where Rich is. He'd be right over there right now. We don't have vision.
Yeah.
So they have to come and clear this because it's just, if you don't know and they're doing it, they get away with it.
And it's not the best Baron damage here from Nongshim, right? Even your AD carries and something like a Jinx or a Kalista. Ezreal does good damage, don't get me wrong, but you know, everybody else as well isn't really a big-time sustained damage dealer or anything like that, so it'll be interesting to see how fast they can get the Baron down, because they are so far ahead, but you still have to have the ability to kill it fast enough and not get punished.
Yeah, I don't think that we're quite that ahead, you know, if you're Nongshim. But they can threaten it, right? And that's exactly what they're doing. Because if Hanwha Life Esports just completely ignore this and don't send resources over here, then yeah, you do. Like, this is really brilliant macro play from Nongshim. Because, like, Rich is always going to win the side lane super hard. So if you're Morgan, you're uncomfortable over there. But no one can come help you out because you actually have to hover around the Baron. And if Hanwha Life just leave this Baron alone, then Nongshim can in fact do it and take it. So you have to stay nearby, and Nongshim are getting other resources on the map. Like they actually have Bay starting the top. See, I don't know if you should actually commit here, but they are going to.
This is on Vision, by the way. They saw this begin. Now they're gonna get a blue trinket in there as well. And they're just trying to bully Rich out of the pit before this even begins. But look at that Braum ultimate slowing up 3 people. A huge engage comes in from Vista. But where is the damage? It is just invisible. Hanwha Life have no follow-up. They are too far behind. They're at least going to stop the Baron take. But you had to use Vista to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they the thing is they can maybe even just potentially reset and turn and go do this again. Vista will be respawned, but Rich and Bay are side laning while they threaten these, right? They eventually start the Baron, which is, you know, something that I was a little bit concerned about, but they still end up taking the fight very convincingly. And look at Kaisa in this fight. Like, he shoots out a Void Seeker at Peanut and then does almost nothing else. Meanwhile, Duck Dom, it's a massive true shot barrage. Vista gets blown up early in this fight. Chovy is forced to flash over the wall. This is the power of having 2 insane dive champions in the, you know, the Renekton and, of course, the Aatrox together. You can't play Victor into that comfortably. It's just so hard. And when, unfortunately, Deft is on the wrong side of the team fight to start picking away at and chipping away at those frontliners, there was a huge disconnect in the positioning there between Chovy and Deft. So you know, one side's going to lose, and then Deft was just looking sheepish at the top side of the fight, trying to do anything he could.
Yeah. Even had to flash away at the very end. So, spending summoner spells just to stop the Baron, essentially. I mean, they were successful. 1-for-1 trading kills. I knew stop the Baron is actually pretty nice, but you know, a lot of guys barely got out of there. Like, it could have gone a lot worse. It was very much on a knife's edge.
And this is not this is not a comp, too, for Hanwha where you go, well, I mean, it's okay because they're going to be really good in just a few moments here. Like, their comp's about to really come online. I mean, Victor already has a significant amount of items here. Like, it's not just going to get better suddenly, unless you actually get more than a 1-for-1 kill and stop a Baron. You need to do more than that. If the game state stays the same, the advantages stay the same, then you can't even contest this mountain break, right? Like, this is going to be so difficult for Hanwha Esports to actually pull off. Ooh.
Good job by Morgan. Blocks that spear. Could have been big on the Chovy. And this is Mountain Soul, right? So
I don't think you can stop this either. I mean, you just are not in a position to do it. And this is going to make this comp so much more difficult to deal with.
This is level 9. He can't even frontline. He can't check. And the rest of Hanwha Life is just trying to get out of there. Nobody actually wants to fight here, but the wraparound from Bay, he's thinking about it, but they're going to play it safe. They just got the Mountain Soul. No reason to try to throw this away.
And you know what? I want to point something out, too. This has been a very good game for Bay on this Renekton. He had that one kind of, you know, unfortunate moment there on the mid lane. Was otherwise threatened. Chovy a lot set for some kills. It feels like Bay is just meant to be on hard engaged champions, you know? And maybe he was a mid laner because he was strong in an assassin meta more than this control mage meta, but his set was also fantastic. He seemed as born to play these strong, tanky mid laners. And, you know, maybe assassins as well. We don't know because he hasn't played any this season. But
yeah.
I think maybe that's where he started his career, and now it's not a good meta for him. But he's playing good on the Renekton.
Oh, man. Look at the damage that they have. I mean, Morgan's really tanky, but still able to chew through about 80% of his health. They're denying... Oh, boy. Take a look at that matchup on that side. Morgan's so low, and he has to hold the wave. Bay, meanwhile, is taking the mid push, and they're going for the Baron.
That's the macro advantage that gets you a Baron, you know? I mean, you make plays like this, you take the right sort of skirmish in a lane, you have a side laner that's extremely powerful, and then you just take a Baron. Like, there's just no way Hanwha Life can even approach the Baron right now.
Yeah, Johan, he's even considering trying to run on in there, but you can't really get by Rich. He's a raid boss right now, as the Baron will go down to the side of Nongshim. We're 30 minutes in, and they're 11,000 gold ahead in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Nongshim are in a position now where you force an inhibitor fight easily. You might even be able to get more done. Rich is just playing so incredibly well. But it's the macro game, and it's the decisions that Nongshim are making with this advantage that makes it so beautiful. Because a lot of teams would just continually crash into the enemy and try to force fights. But Nongshim actually win the game with minions right now. You know, that's actually how they're getting these advantages, actually having these two strong side laners. They're 1-3-1-ing, and then grouping up for these skirmishes. They've had such good vision control over the Baron with the power that they have in the 1-3-1. Then they group up for mid, push these waves in. Like, I mean, if you're Hanwha Life here against this Baron buff, I mean, you don't have any options. You don't have a comp that can, like, try to flank and hard engage either. I mean, Johan could maybe try that, but he'd just be killed so quickly. Bay is also level 17 in this game. Like, Rich and Bay are doing so incredibly well. There we go. I mean, this actually could be the fight to end the game. If Hanwha Life Esports botch this defense, and we go into a game 5, that happens.
It's really up to Chovy to try to wave clear here. That's a really nice true shot barrage.
And look at Rich. He's just like, oh, well, if you guys are going to kind of happy feet over here, I'm going to siege mid, and now I'm going to have a siege on top.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to lose inhibitors here, potentially.
Chovy has done, like, 4 or 5 lasers in the mid lane trying to get rid of those cannon minions. Now he's going to come up to the top side and try to do the same, but when he does that, you push into the mid lane.
Hanwha need to, I mean, they need to hard engage, or they're going to lose this game, actually. They're going to lose more than inhibitors if they actually don't clear any of these minions, but they just don't have an opportunity. They need to somehow Hecarim him ult in or something like that.
Boy.
Otherwise, just sit back and lose. Like, there's going to be 2 inhibitors guaranteed. And, like, Nexus turrets are going down.
It's really rough. I mean, they're so far behind. It's 12,000 gold.
You got to do something, though. You can't just watch the game go away.
We'll see when they make their stand. If they do, Vista being terrorized on the right side as well. The turret will go down.
The minions are going to win the game, like I said, man. This is Nongshim's macro, and now they have a huge advantage. Vista is super low.
Oh, he's dead! Just like that, one Mystic shot and you're dead. Big knockups from Rich, he's full health. And that's going to do it for this one, you'd imagine. Nate's Chaos Storm is going to come out and do a lot of damage actually from Chovy, but they're just too far behind. Peanut comes in, swipes one time, and gets 2 kills. And we are going to a game number 5 as Nongshim will tie it up with their 2nd win of the series.
No one would have expected this to happen, but it feels like Nongshim are just playing the games of this team's lives right now. They are playing extremely well around the macro, and it's an unusual draft. You have the Renekton mid for Bay, but he's a natural at it. He plays it very well. He minimized Chovy in this game. This is a Chovy who got 2-0 early on in the game. He had 2 very early kills, and yet still they were able to minimize